know if y'all can hear me because let me know if y'all can hear me. I'm having technical difficulties. It says two of these are in the two of me are in the stream. How's that work? I have no clue. So okay, thanks. Scattaloo, Scattalolo. But yeah, sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. My phone contraption holder was not working. So it is what it is. I'm only going to stream for a few couple minutes, whatever. But yeah, I'm back, and there's two. Can y'all see two of me on the screen? That's weird. No, what the hell's going on?
What goes on? The money representing symbols representing the reality.
So, yeah, I'm back. Shit. What are the things coming up in my? Let's just see what's going on. Let me find some topics real quick. You could argue with you. You're right. I know, right? I'm going live with my damn self. I don't know what's going on today, but hey, it is what it is. Somebody put Merry Christmas to all the dads that can't see their babies for the holidays. Okay. What's the next one? Somebody put up here. Normies trying to sleep after they realize their conspiracy theorist friend isn't a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out about this, you know, but it's weird. It's all coming out like the time they want to reset it. All this stuff about hidden, how we've been lied to is coming out. It's just pretty weird, But it's this thing, this post. It says cathedral, right? Cathoid rail, right? It said a cathedral. I mean, it said a cathode, CATHODE, is a type of electrode through which electrons move. Electrodes are a semiconductor, usually a metal that is connected to something that is not a metal. A cathode delivers electrons, negative charge, and the anode collects electrons that have a positive charge. And they call these cathedrals. And a cathode, is some kind of electronic conductor. Pretty crazy, man. So I've been diving into a lot of that shit too. I've been looking at old churches and shit, and the shit is kind of is like, yeah. I mean, why did they stop? Like they all stopped building this type of architecture at the same time. It is very interesting, man. You know, and just New York City alone, how there is no power lines, but they say it's all underground. Yeah, I mean, we could say that now, but what about back in the days? You know, and then the Empire State Building, the Chrysler Tower. Look how those things are on the top. Even here in Rochester, some buildings that are like, okay, why did they build that building like that on top? Super interesting stuff. But just randomly reading, checking out these posts. Happy Saturnalia for those who practice in worshiping this so-called holiday Christmas. Yeah. I agree. Oh, man. So, yeah. Pretty crazy stuff. Somebody said Happy New Year. I get it. But yeah, check out that video I uploaded. Just a reminder, of the lies. It's a travel. Yeah, the video of somebody standing on understanding what's going on, how the game is ran, the right way. Like I said, I've been through all this stuff, man. And it's 100% on point. But we live in under tyranny where they don't, their lack of ignorance creates tyranny. Just is what it is. That's why they come out and do what they do and pass bills. We don't know what the hell they're doing. We don't know what they're talking about. I do, but I'm just saying the majority of people don't have a clue what these people are talking about. When we see all this stuff that they do to us, they don't. Most, I would say 90% of the population believes that codes, statutes, rules, policies are laws, and they're not. Most 90% of people don't realize everything is a contract, and this is what binds us to a lot of things. A lot of people don't realize that they're not Americans. A lot of people don't understand that they're a state citizen, right? I mean, a U.S. citizen. which isn't even a state citizen. You know, a lot of people don't understand a lot of this stuff. Therefore, you know, wonder why shit happens. You know? And again, this is why they need to reset it, crash it, destroy it, because people are figuring it out. Imagine if you had 100,000 people understanding, you know, you got a right to travel. Well, then it's normalized now. Now it's okay, well, you know, but again, they always want to, you know, they always want to down it, say it's sovereign citizen talk, which is totally not, because you can make this entire argument using their own rules, their own regulations, their own laws, and that goes with everything, you know. So, and a lot I told you, it's the CIA mind manipulation, you know, keeps people into these things where they don't care to know, they don't want to know, they don't want to understand, they don't want to look into the things. It's too hard, it's too complicated. And you know, unfortunately, Americans are like Christians, simple-minded. If it ain't simple-minded, they don't want to know nothing about it. You can't talk to them. Isn't that ironic? So, you know, so I just had to upload that video to show y'all, you know, this is what it is. You know, I don't put a lot of information out because the only reason why I don't is because I don't want people to say to do this shit and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, because then they'll say, oh, you know, that damn yeah right said this and this happened instead. You know, that's why I don't do it. You know. So a lot of things, you know, I'll talk about it, but hey, all the people that hit me up, email me or whatever, shit, they know what time it is, because now I'm showing them, you know, how this stuff is done, how it, you know, like I said, I've done that shit for years, but I said, you know, it's a thing you got to go through, you know. It's a thing you got to go through, and it's work, you know. It's work standing up, really protesting, you know, against this system, you know. That's the true protest, is addressing grievances with these people. If we got an issue, we got to come to a headway. We got to go into the game, into the court game. And now it's, you know, you're playing with rules and you're showing them, okay, this is what it says. This is what it is. All right. It's easy to break down, you know. So a lot of people don't understand these things. Let me know if y'all hear me. And this is stuff that, you know, truthers don't want to talk about. People don't want to talk about, because it takes becoming a man and letting go fear, you know, to be able to stand on your own. Okay, thanks. You know, when you stand on your own, you know, you lose the fear. Once you lose the fear, you know, the game's over. You know, they can't scare you with sending you a fucking piece of paper that makes no goddamn sense, whatever, when you know the principles of you have a right to due process. Okay? And they have to abide by that right. You know, from everything you do, from family courts to civil shit, which is, you know, all this traffic garbage bullshit, you know. The reason why I tell people, look, get a fucking license, because this shit is not easy. This shit is hard, you know. And you will come across those cops that will go all the way, because that's what they're told to do. But if a lot of people knew how to do it, you know, they would have to change a lot of things, you know. It was good, Truth Master Dre. Good to see you. Been in a minute. So, you know, somebody left a comment, said, "Can you know people doing this in Jersey?" What do you mean? This is how it is. You know. But you got to know what you're standing on. You know, you got to know. It's not, don't get caught in the whole sovereign citizen shit. You know, these are prime examples of how you do it. It's not creating shit out of thin air, calling yourself some shit that doesn't make any kind of fucking sense whatsoever. It's simple, standing on that square. And that goes with anything you deal with these people. You ain't committing no crimes, and ain't nothing to talk about. A lot of people don't understand that, you know, and people still don't want to believe it. That's why, like, there's these sob citizen, like, always want to post these things about, uh, you know, uh, sovereign citizen fails, where they get beat up and all this other shit, and they're laughing and giggling. But I've went into them. This one artist corporate fiction idiot scumbag, right? He claims to be some kind of lawyer in New York State. Every time I come on there, I just totally destroy anything he's fucking talking about because it makes no sense whatsoever. You know. But the key thing is hey, he'll let you on there, and it's always you know, but this stuff is real, man. That's how it's ran. While motherfuckers running around celebrating Christmas, running around believing in this Santa Claus and shit. This is they run around here doing this to us. All out of our ignorance. Contracts. And all the shit is right in the contract. Answering, failure to answer. They want you to answer. Failure to answer will do this. And what do people do when they, failure to answer? Well, that means you agreed to it. And they're going to do anything they see fit. And then you're going to say, well, this is tyranny. This is violation of my right. No, you had an opportunity to answer. They gave you your due process right there. You didn't answer. Now, the question is, how do you answer? Merry Griftmas. So, and even if you got a license, this is the shit that I would be doing. You know what I mean? This is the shit you're supposed to be doing. If you got a license, you're supposed to do the same shit. If you get pulled over, okay, and you got a license, yes, you're, according to the whole licensing, which at some point I'm going to challenge the shit, because in order to produce ID, you have to be convicted of a crime. But it's going to go all the way down into, well, you got the license, so you're a driver and you got to abide by these rules of being an employee of this, driving privilege, right? Commercial, right? But, my thing is I'm going to make these motherfuckers say that it's because I got the license that they can do this shit. You know what I mean? So, because how can you have the right to remain silent? Okay. All this is clear case law, cut and dry, right? And they always use Terry v. Ohio, but people don't understand that applies to the traffic stops also, So, you got rights versus privilege, right? Okay, check this out. Rights versus privileges. This is what most motherfucking Americans run around with is privileges, right? It's a constitutional right, to travel, ensures that individuals can move freely between states or within a state. This right is recognized under cases such as Shapiro versus Thompson, 1969. But then it says, however, involves the use of public roads, a shared resource. Courts have ruled that operation of a motor vehicle falls under the government's authority to regulate for safety of all users, e.g. Hendrick versus Maryland, right? Consent through licensing. By applying for and receiving a driver's license, individuals enter into an agreement or consent with the state to abide by its traffic laws. This is considered a voluntary act. However, refusal to consent by not obtaining a license does not negate the state's authority to regulate motor vehicle operation on public roads. Operating a vehicle without a license is a violation of those regulations. All right. Now, this is how you win every time, right? Commercial versus personal use. Now, remember, it says, however, refusal to consent by not obtaining a license does not negate the state's authority to regulate motor vehicle operation on public roads, right? Now, again, that's why you got to understand the term motor vehicle, right? But anyways, commercial versus personal use. There are some legal bases to distinguish between commercial use of roads, e.g., for business purposes, and personal use. The term driver historically referred to someone engaging in operating a vehicle for commercial purposes. Boom, boom. But it says courts have consistently rejected this argument, right? Which is totally not true, because it's all a case by case, basis, right? It says State versus Booner, 1998. The court ruled that traffic laws apply universally regardless of commercial or personal use, right? But that's traffic laws, right, that people obtain driver's license for, right? Privileges and safety. The regulations of driving is considered a privilege granted to ensure public safety. Licensing, insurance, and registration requirements are justified under the state's police powers to protect citizens on public road. Cool. All right. So now, this is where you get into, the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. People following along. Violations versus crimes. Violations are typically non-criminal infractions. Not typically, they are, okay? Such as speeding or failing to signal, often resulting in fines or penalties rather than imprisonment. Violations are civil matters unless escalated. Crimes, criminal acts generally involve more severe branches of law and carry the potential for incarceration, significant fines, and other penalties. The Supreme Court has emphasized that due process protections apply to all individuals, whether dealing in civil or criminal matters, right? Now, Morsery versus Brewer, 408 U.S. 471, 1972. Due process is a flexible concept, but its fundamental requirement is fairness. All right. Now, you got the right to remain silent, right? In ID laws, right? Now, this is where people don't understand, right? If you got a right to remain silent, check this out. Requiring individuals to produce identification during a traffic stop or similar situation does not necessarily violate due process, right? Listen to what they're saying. The Supreme Court has ruled that states can require individuals to identify themselves during lawful stops. Right then and there, the normies read that. They say, see, you got to have a license. But it just says lawful stops. Lawful. Okay? Lawful. Just one word changes the entire scope of someone understanding what the fuck they just read. Hebel versus 6th Judicial District of Nevada. 542, 2004. The court held that requiring someone to provide their name during a stop does not violate the Fourth Amendment or Fifth Amendments, provided the stop itself is lawful. Now, again, if I read that, because this was read to me by one of those damn people who don't believe, who claims to be some kind of lawyer, he said the same thing. Hebel versus 6th Judicial District, right? The court held that requiring someone to provide their name during a stop does not violate the Fourth or Fifth Amendments, provided the stop itself was lawful. And they read that, and then they say, see, you're wrong, haha, and they're laughing, they're all clapping their fucking hooves and sheep. See, you're wrong, haha, it doesn't violate your constitutional rights. Stop, you sovereign citizen, garbage nonsense. But they don't understand, they just read the word lawful. They understand because they're gaslighting the audience to believe this shit because they're put out here as an agent to do that shit, right? So then it says, however, the court has also ruled that individuals cannot be criminally penalized for refusing to provide information unless it is a legal obligation to do so under state law. Boom. traffic violations and due process. Traffic laws are enforced under the state's police powers, which are granted. We already know that. Violations of these laws, such as driving without a license, failing to obey traffic signals, are considered regulatory offenses, not crimes. Again, it ain't criminal. Okay? However, when individuals refuse to comply with law enforcement procedures, aka refusing to show identification during a lawful stop, some states escalate the matter to criminal offenses. That right there is what they always try to do. And this is how you win every single time, 100% without a fucking doubt. Because it's all to do with, have you committed a crime? This applies. You've heard this all through the police auditing, but that actually goes and stems from driving, a lawful stop. So, right. Again, U.S. versus Bishop, 1978. The court clarified that violation of certain statutes are not criminal acts unless specifically designated as such by the law. All right. Okay, Miranda versus Arizona. This is how you got your Miranda rights. It reinforces the rights of due process to protect against self-incrimination. The state cannot convert a constitutional right into a crime, right? However, Reynolds versus United States, 1870, clarified the exercise of constitutional rights can still be subject to reasonable regulation for the public order and safety. That is if people are harmed, right? You know, it is what it is. When someone refuses to comply with a law enforcement officer's request, the state may charge additional offenses such as obstruction of justice, failure to comply, and with a lawful order. However, these charges must meet due standard processes, right? What are the due standard processes? A lawful stop or arrest requires probable cause or reasonable suspicion. Terry v. Ohio. If probable cause is absent, the escalation of a civil violation into a criminal matter does violate due process protections. Okay? Point blank, period. So, this is what people don't understand. All right? Infractions are not crimes unless they involve reckless behavior or result in harm to a person's property. If you're driving on the street and the cop pulls you over speeding, violation. All right. I mean, unless you're going fucking 5,000 miles an hour. Unless you're going 5,000 miles an hour or some shit, reckless, and then, and then still, it could be still considered because you ain't harm nobody, but they will charge you with some kind of reckless endangerment or something of that, of that sort. So, it's just, and then you got the right to remain silent, right? This is where people don't understand their actual rights of remaining silent. So when this comes to driving, right, you got a right to remain silent. So if you're getting pulled over and you didn't commit no crime, right, now an officer needs reasonable, articulate suspicion, right, that a crime has been committed or is about to be committed. You driving down the road without a seatbelt is not a crime, okay? So you got a right to remain silent. But check this out. This is what they don't tell you. This is all case law. Everything I'm reading you is case law. All right. Okay. Hebel versus 6th Judicial District, 2004. The court ruled that requiring a person to state their name during a traffic stop is permissible under the 4th and 5th Amendments, provided if the stop is lawful, right? When traffic stops violate rights. 4th Amendment, unreasonable search and seizures. A stop must be based on reasonable suspicion of a traffic violation or other unlawful authority. Terry v. Ohio. Extending the stop without jurisdiction can violate this right. Fifth Amendment, turning a traffic violation into a criminal matter without due process violates constitutional protections. Protections. 14th Amendment, equal protection, right? The government must apply laws fairly and cannot penalize someone for exercising constitutional rights. Again, if you got a right to remain silent, they can't penalize you for that. They can't say failure to identify. How, if you got a right to remain silent, how could you get a failure to identify? You didn't commit no crime, right? Check this out, right? Now, remaining silent during a traffic stop, all right? Again, everything I read, you know, people say, oh, well, that's it right there, you know, but no. Failing to produce identification when required by law in many states can result in additional charges. Failure to identify, obstruction of justice, right? While traffic violations are not crimes, most states have enacted laws requiring to show a license during a lawful stop. By obtaining a license, individuals agree to abide by these laws. Again, they're telling you when you obtain a license, you already agreed to abide by those. That's how people get extra charges. You see that? It's all in the trickery of words. It says while traffic violations are not crimes, most states have enacted laws requiring drivers to show a license. And again, they're not laws, they're just rules, regulations, statutes, right? Again, the way they word this, they scare you by using these words, but then they say lawful stop. By obtaining a license, individuals agree to abide by these laws. Refusing to produce identification may result in penalties or escalation of the situation, but such escalation must still comply with due process and constitutional protections. Right? Now, traffic laws are designated to regulate public behavior for safety. If law enforcement escalates a traffic stop without just cause or justification, they risk violating individual rights. Unlawful detention, extending a stop without reasonable suspicion or probable cause violates the Fourth Amendment. Okay? Again, crimes, right? Exercising force or arrest. Arresting someone for refusing to provide ID during a traffic violation stop, absent any crime, violates due process. Point blank, period. All right. Point blank, period. And everybody go look this shit up. You know, individuals subjected to such treatment can seek remedies through civil rights claims under, we already know 42 USC 1983 for violation of constitutional rights, right? So again, they tell you, if you didn't commit a crime, you don't even got to get these motherfuckers no kind of ID. But if you got a license, guess what you got to do? You still don't have to, but you actually do. And this is when these two conflict. And this is when you can bring them into court and say, wait a minute. And if they'll have to come out, I want to make them come out of their mouth and say, well, it's because you got the license is the reason why that shit you're talking don't apply, because you agreed, which then would solidify actually canceling the fucking license, not having the license, and then using that right there as evidence for you not to have no fucking license. Point blank, period. You know? Because traffic violations are not crimes, all right? They're regulatory infractions designed to maintain public safety and order. That's it. Non-criminal nature. Non-criminal is speeding, failure to signal, running a stop sign, all that shit. Those civil infractions, right? Courts have long recognized this distinction. People versus Battle, 50 California, 2nd, 651, 1958. The California Supreme Court affirmed that traffic infractions do not carry the same legal weight as crimes. All right? And reasonable suspicion. Under Terry v. Ohio, an officer may temporarily detain an individual if there is reasonable suspicion that a crime has been, is being, or will be committed. Traffic stops. For a traffic stop, reasonable suspicion applies to an alleged violation. However, unless the violation escalates into criminal matter, the officer's authority is limited to addressing the civil infraction. Identification. In states where stop and identify statute exists, an individual may be required to provide identification during a lawful stop. However, if no crime is suspected, the basis of requiring ID becomes weaker. This is what they don't want you to know. You know, you got constitutional law, which is supreme law of the land, supremacy clause, right? And the Supreme Court says that any law conflicting with the Constitution is void. If a state or local law, aka a traffic or statute, conflicts with constitutional rights, due process right to remain silent, the Constitution takes precedence. Point blank, period. A civil infraction does not become a crime simply because an individual refused to comply with regulatory requirement producing ID in a non-criminal stop. For example, Brown versus Texas, the Supreme Court held that a person cannot be criminally penalized for refusing to identify themselves unless there is reasonable suspicion of a criminal offense, not a damn violation. Point blank, period. This is when violation of rights by law enforcement happen. When law enforcement escalates a stop for a traffic violation, non-criminal, into criminal arrest without probable cause or reasonable suspicion of crime, it can violate constitutional rights. That's why 90 fucking percent of the time when you see these traffic, these people getting ripped out of the car and all this other shit and fighting police, they never get a resistance. All that shit gets dropped because it was all illegal in the first place. That's what they don't want to tell you. And there's so much on this. You know, you just gotta know this stuff. You know, you learn it. Ain't nothing else to tell you. All you gotta do is know due process, and you gotta understand your fundamental rights, and you gotta stand on them. Not no rights, no constitution. Okay, that keeps them from violating our rights. We got inherent rights. That's it. Ain't nothing else to talk about. That's what we got. You know. So. Yeah. So. Shout out to all you guys. So that's all I got for now, though. But I hope everybody's enjoying their families and shit. You know, just remember, you know, we're in the last of the last. So much love to all y'all, and I'll holla at you later.